All right. Yeah, so I kind of like it here too, just 'cause about here. Every time I come, I like coming at night because after 9 o'clock during the like Friday and Saturday and throughout the week, every appetizer is half off when you purchase a drink. So
Oh,
I think there's times when I come here by myself and I get like three appetizers and then like I get like a sangria or something and it's like $23.
wow.
And I usually take like two boxes home. Most of the time I can't
You come
finish
by
everything.
yourself?
Yeah,
Oh,
sometimes like after
yeah.
work or if I'm
Yeah.
doing something like
Right.
I don't know, just because like lately I've been kind of been
Right.
like I don't like spending too much time with I don't know with certain people with people in general just because like I feel by myself
Yeah.
I'm always focused, but when I'm out with other people like I tend to like lose
Right.
focus
I
or they have
understand.
different mentalities, so
Right.
I kind of
I'm the same way. I can only stand certain people so long, even on the phone. I just say, well, I got to go. I have an appointment.
and I'm glad that you're able to do that because I know some people like they feel bad like they need to go but they're just like it's almost like they don't value their time like you're saying like me it's just like hey
Yeah.
like I gotta
So,
go. I gotten better with that too.
yeah, so much wears me out when it's repetitive or about talking
Yeah,
about what's hurting them. And not that I don't care, but tell me five
something that
minutes and
yeah.
then change the subject to, like, tell me, like, where you went on a hike or something new that I can experience.
Yeah. Like I don't want to hear it just like the same thing over and
I
over
don't
because
either.
I'm the same way like that. Where like doing the same thing like over and over, like
Right.
it almost feels like punishment to me. It feels like torture. It's just like I don't want to live in the same
Right.
headspace or in the same
That's
event
how I,
over and over. It's just like it happened. All right, let it be gone.
right.
And, yeah, like move on to the next thing. I got that experience that I needed. So
Yeah.
now let me find
You
that
told
new.
me what you needed to tell me. Now let's move on. And I like them to tell me new experiences so I maybe hadn't been there that I can go and
Yeah.
experience it. But like I've been taking off doing these hikes by myself.
Yeah, and can you tell me a little more about that? Like all the places that you've been going
Are
to
we being
hiking lately?
are we being recorded now? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. See, that's what I
Oh.
wanted. I wanted to just start it
Oh, well,
off like
anyway,
kind of like organically, like I kind of learned like a trick that you're not supposed to tell like the people you started because then like they'll get kind of nervous. But if you don't say
yeah.
anything, it's going already.
I
It's
just don't want to mention any names.
oh okay, yep. You got it. That's smart.
But no, I'm like you. I just love new experiences, and I keep saying I'm so curious at my age. I want to go
Which I
to
love, by the way.
I
I'm
want to
so
go to
excited.
India and see the Taj Mahal yet, and Japan that I haven't been to. And now the COVID has deterred that.
Yeah, and
So
that's so upsetting too, because like I was saying earlier, like that's what upsets me about like because I mean I definitely do believe in the virus itself, it's but I just don't agree with how they went on about it, how they tried to separate all of us, they try to
right,
limit us in every way possible, transportation,
right,
socially, speech, like everything. They try to limit everything, like you were saying. Like now
yeah,
they have so much requirements. Like now, like it's not like before. Like you know what, I want to go to India. I want to finally check them out. Like, you know what,
yeah,
I'm gonna plan everything in a month or two.
yeah.
Now it's different. We like like you
And
gotta
I
get this vaccine if you want to leave the country. You gotta do this. You gotta
and
do
not
that, and
allowed to
everything's
go.
limited. You can't even go in and check out every place
Right.
that you used to love to.
Well, the other country I wanted to go to was China, and at least walk part of that great Wall
Oh
of
my
China.
god, that's on my bucket list. I want one day. I definitely
That's what
want to
I
do
wanted
it.
to
Do you
do.
know how long it is? I know it's quite,
Oh, it's miles. I did know at one time.
but I can't. Yeah.
I can't tell you the exact mileage,
But
but
I
it's
know it. I was
miles.
like, I
It's
know it's
long.
a good path. I wonder if I'm pretty sure people. I always kind of like look into like people doing challenges, like not doing the whole thing, but going up like up the ladders because of how narrow it is.
Right.
People say like if you want to do
Yes.
if you want to walk on the path, good
Yes.
luck going up the steps first because that's the
Exactly.
kind of challenging part.
Well, I just thought, boy, I would have loved to have done that before I get to the point maybe if I live long enough that I can't do that anymore. And I just thought that looked so exciting. But then it was, everything canceled. Nobody was allowed to go. And, well, like in Costa Rica, I did the canopying. They call the zip line here. Oh my God, that was just,
And yeah, and you did that too.
I still remember that. I can remember going up to the very last zip line, and we had to go either by a truck they would take us up or horseback. Well,
Ooh.
my fiance said, we'll go up by horse. And I said to the guy, are you sure? Because the path was only a foot
Oh.
wide going around this mountain top. And he said, oh no, the horses are the most sure-footed animal. So I trusted him. We made it up, and then we flew from the highest peak and there was a restaurant they built in the mountain with glass all on one side, and everybody waved to me, and I waved as I flew by.
That,
But I
oh
still
my,
picture that.
that's amazing too. Like just because like they have that around here, but like everything's like
Right.
not I mean it's real, but I almost want to say it's not real. Like it's corporized, I guess. Like supposed to like back then, like you're like in nature, everything's made
Right.
based upon nature. It's not
Yes.
made and then nature comes into play.
Exactly.
So doing it in a place like Costa Rica, like
Yeah.
where you get
Oh.
I want to say the full experience. That's a better word for it. When you get the
Well,
full
and
experience.
they didn't have it here. Now they have it at Kings Island, and they have it at Tall Timbers Park.
Yeah.
So they're all making them here. But like you say, it's man-made more.
Yeah.
It's not in the jungle where
Yeah,
I was
see
at.
now that like I just kind of know we're so similar that for me like I'm you telling me that story I'm just visualizing like the
Oh,
adrenaline like if you
it
going
was-
down have to win and
It
memories
was
like that you just
something.
don't ever forget and I feel like that's kind of what's the point of one part of the point of living is for you
Right.
to experience such thing that just kind of like that you don't realize it like you're outside of yourself you're in the present moment so
Exactly.
deeply in that you're just
Exactly.
like oh my god like this is the best moment in
It's
that moment
exciting.
it's exciting in that moment you're like this is the best moment ever and and it happens
yeah,
and
I
years back
still-
you still look back on it.
I still visualize that every now and then in my head. And I was going to do Tall Timbers, but I looked at it and I thought, oh, and I may do that yet. But my next thing is I've been wanting to do a hot air balloon ride, and I had one booked in 2017. But here, my mother passed away on that day, and I had to cancel. So I haven't been able to do that yet. And I keep thinking, oh, that's right. That's the next thing I want to book is a hot air balloon ride. So have you done that?
Yeah, no, I have not. I was kind of like you. I wanted to do it. I didn't book it. I think it was I don't know if it was 2017 or 2018 for me. They had an event here in Ohio. I don't remember what location it was, but I saw something that it was like the United States like top like hot air balloon. I think they had like 50
Albuquerque,
or
New
Yeah.
Mexico.
Oh, is that what it was? I couldn't remember where, but
I've
they had a
been-
bunch of them in one day.
Yeah, I've been out there and saw it, but not the hot air balloons going up. But they showed us the event place and the building where they hold it. Now I know that here in town, a funeral home. Well, I had booked it with a woman in Strasbourg, and then I had to cancel. And I used to go to the hot air balloon fest up there at the Canton Hall of
Maybe
Fame.
I wonder if that would have been it.
That could have been, I was going to say, because they did have, they did have the Balloon Fest. They had to cancel over the COVID, but this year they had it, but it wasn't, I don't think, quite the same, and I didn't make it this year. But last year it was canceled. So I'm going to call this funeral home director because she had gotten another lady a couple years ago a ride up for her birthday. So I've been meaning to do that, but now the weather here is
Yeah, kind of changing. I
Yeah.
know, but yeah, if you find out more about it,
I
I
will.
definitely because I
I'd
wanna,
like to go. Yeah.
yeah, because I definitely like I said I really wanted to just for like the experience itself. It looks so cool, and and to me like. From like my kid's point of view is just like how is that possible? It's just like a balloon like with flames that makes you go up like so
Yeah,
so
and I know-
just being on it like because I watching
Right.
shows and stuff like that you have like they have little sandbags they throw them out and then
Right.
kind of start going up and just seeing the view more than anything I think it would be
Well,
cool because
like I said, I knew these people that were close here in Strasbourg that used to do that, and here, would you believe, in 2000, well, it was no, it was I'm sorry, it was 2010, but it was August 17th, and I had it booked, and here my mother passed, and I had to call and cancel. So, like I said, I've never rescheduled it. I've always been busy with other
yeah.
things.
But like it makes sense of what you were saying. Someone's just like because I kind of I'm getting a little bit of that. Like now that I'm getting older, I know I'm still young, but I still feel like myself. Like because I give myself like timelines. So like lately, I feel like man, like somebody reminding me they're like you're about to be 24, and like it hit me like yeah, like I am. I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
but you're still a baby, but yet things can happen, So if you have the opportunity and the chance, I tell everyone, do it. Do it.
that's how.
Don't say
I'll do it
next year
eventually.
or we'll see. Like my one husband would say every time, oh, we'll see. So I called him the we'll see guy. He had the time and the money, but it was always
just
we'll
the-
see. So that's what I nicknamed him, we'll see.
That's funny.
And he did more with me than he ever did in his whole life. And he said, I never lived till I met you because I was always,
Yeah, moving.
yeah,
And that's true too. Like, and that's what like happens a lot of the times. People don't realize that, like, they call it life, but they're not like living because they're, they're so distracted by their like quote unquote like everyday lives, as in like, with
right,
work, entertainment, friends, that they're
exactly,
like trapped in this almost like small circle of like, it's like a hamster wheel. They're doing the same thing, but
right,
it's not until like they meet, somebody like, like you, that, that's like, like, you're here, you're there, you're here, like you want to do this, you want to do that, because no,
yeah,
that like that's so, when we're kids, like, that's all of us. Like, we're so curious. We're always asking why. We want to
right,
know how everything works. We want to find out what we're good at.
yeah,
We want to try everything. And I'm glad that there's a lot of people that do keep that curiosity, like that inner child within
right,
somebody. I think that's what kind of keeps you young. Part of it is just like,
could
is
be,
you of like wanting to find out, wanting to learn, wanting to always get better. Like, despite your being
yeah,
15, 20, 60, 50, whatever, it's
yeah.
almost
I'm
like
still
the,
a kid
yeah,
at
and
heart.
like, and I feel it like to me, you
I
feel
love
like
it.
25, like, you
I just
feel
think,
so full of
what's the,
life.
yeah, what's the next excursion? What's the next thing around the corner? And I'm always digging up stuff and looking things
Yeah,
up.
no, I agree, and and the beauty in that too is, living a fuller life, because like, on an everyday basis, it's almost like I'm pretty sure you do too, of like, every day, like, you wake up, all right, like, what's new, what's new today, like, what's gonna come.
Right.
And it's funny too, just because like I'm somebody that I'm sure like most of us, I was terrified of change. Like, but in my life, see, I moved around way too much, from Mexico to Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, here, and
Oh,
even all that movement, my life has changed so much with my
oh
parents and this
yeah,
and
I
that.
can imagine.
That, yeah, that it always kind of pushed me out and kind of enclosed me.
Yeah,
But all those changes is what kind of like led me to this point of view. Especially like a few years back, I lost my job, I lost my best friend, my relationship
oh,
ended. 2018 for me was a very tough year, and it
oh,
like locked me up, like, because I was starting to come out. 2016, I started to come out of my shell, and I hit 2018, and everything kind of came crashing down, and everything was changing. That I
yeah,
psychologically, mentally, like, it put me down for like a couple months, just in like in
yeah.
this weird mental state.
That's what
But
I had in
oh yeah,
2010.
yeah.
Everything was happening bad, and I know what you're saying, but what you've lived through has made you who you are.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that,
Same with you. What helped us be in the light is that we touched, that bottom
exactly.
part of the darkness, that we came
Right.
out from that, and now we know the other side, that we appreciate it every single day, and that we
Exactly.
know what can be taken away, and what we have. So we try to, live it every day. It's almost like
Right.
it's our last. Like, I wake up, like, like, try to be in a good mood. Try to, like, gratitude first of all, and then try to be, all
Right.
right, what new experiences can I learn from today?
Yeah.
And I learned that from my stepdad a lot too. Of like, he always told me, like, it doesn't matter what you do in life, whether it's a job, a task, or anything. You always have to do it to your best of your ability.
That's
And
right.
when I was growing up, I never saw that. Like, he would always tell us things, but I saw the way he was doing them, and I didn't agree with them. So therefore, I didn't see the message. But now that I got into older and at a certain age, my conscience kind of came into play. I realized that the way he was going on about things could have been done better, could have been a little wrong, but
Yeah.
it was the message that he was trying to give us. That was the blueprint for us to live a more fulfilled life. And then, over the last few years, I've been kind of tapping into that consciousness of like, what, yeah, like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm gonna put my full effort, because
Right.
that's where the magic happens. Of like, because I do believe like everything in life happens for a reason, whether we see it or like it or not. Like, it always leads us to
Right.
another point. So, whether you are
Yeah.
where you are, whether it's like a job or whatever, you don't care for to do it, you still want to,
Yeah.
do your best, because, by you doing your best, that your next line is gonna come your way, as opposed to like not caring for that. So therefore, the rest of your life is not gonna come your way, because you're not caring about what you're doing.
Right.
So, and it's almost like you're sending mixed signals to the universe. It's almost like, do I want this? Do I not? Like, I want this, but I'm not doing this. So
Well, what I've lived through, it made me a much stronger, independent person, which I thank the Lord for, that He gave me the strength to get
so it's
through
almost
what
like you
I've
got
lived
broken
through.
down, but you got kind of built up.
Yeah, and like I said, it's helped me.
Discover, I'm
I never
sure.
looked back and why me or anything. I just went on with
You never
living
played
life.
the victim. You always like,
No, right,
look deeper into it.
exactly. And I said it helped. Well, I was a very shy, introverted little
That's literally
girl.
how it was when I was growing
And
up, which is funny.
Going through all these different tragedies, or if you call them that,
Your
it made
self-expression, you
me
find it.
stronger and self-dependent. I've always depended just on myself, nobody else. And in a way, I look at it as a good thing that happened. But yet, I think, why did I have to go through that? But other people have lived in much more catastrophes and tragedies, and I have feelings for those people, that when they're similar to what I lived through. But like I said, it made me the person I am today, and I'm still fighting.
And that's another thing too. It's just like you're viewing things because like some people like because like all of us go through a certain type of struggle, but not all of us see it, and most of us kind of focus too much on the negative. Like
Yes.
like everything that happened to us, like it has to happen. You're just almost like you can't have peace and harmony all the time. You need the balance of like
Right.
things to happen because like whether it's like somebody passing away, their physical form is gone, but they're always gonna live
Exactly.
within us. Their energy is always gonna be here, but people always get so stuck on like viewing life a certain way that they get like stuck on that life kind of passes them without realizing like what, this happened, but it's almost like I need to live for them. I need to live for myself, and I need to keep
Exactly.
going to experience it more, as opposed to like let all of it kind of consume me because at that point it's almost like people that let that happen, they're almost selfish because they're focused on themselves, that they don't realize like a lot of us tend to be beacons of hope for other people, so we
Exactly.
almost have to keep going for them. We got to take ourselves out of the equation. And I
Right.
believe that's something that
Well,
you've always done too, of like done it.
what I did was, with the negativity, I just dealt with it at the time and then put it in the back, and I just didn't keep thinking about it. And that way I could grow and get stronger, and which I did. And like I said, I tell friends and family members when they keep talking negativity, I say, okay, I give them a time limit, 10 minutes to 15 minutes.
And then like, all right, time is
out
up.
of there. Let's go with something happy that happened.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's the thing too. I notice in today's kind of world, people are always focusing on, especially with the news and everything. Like it's always like negative, negative.
Yes.
So all of that kind of goes into our subconscious, and then like we're kind of get brainwashed, programmed into like
Right.
always. Because like at workplaces, at most places, like you always hear people talking about other people talking about this because they're almost like their view is like they're so caught up in that they don't realize what they're actually doing because our tongue is powerful, our
Exactly.
words, everything we say, we think, like everything is powerful. So if we're so worried about other people and what's going on this drama, then we're
Right.
always going to be on that same frequency, as opposed to like we're saying like letting go of that, because you don't, all that kind of,
Exactly.
it weighs on you, like it puts a weight on you. So like your physical self and your spiritual self, you kind of age with all that stuff. People
Exactly.
carry so much baggage that they don't deal with.
Yeah.
So it's good
Well-
to just like exert it, like, and go through like whatever negative is happening, go through it, go through emotions, but then like let it go once it's
Exactly.
time. Like it's not good to hold on to.
Exactly, and think of the happy memories and the adventures I've had. I feel very blessed. I thank the Lord every day for how He blessed me, because I was a little girl, not raised in wealth. My dad had to work 3 jobs to put food on the table, and I never dreamt of the life that I have had, and the experiences and the traveling I've got to do, and the many experiences that I didn't even think of. I mean, it was like, and it comes to me some
Somebody
way.
needs to make a well, one of the maybe that could be an idea of making like a some type of like documentary movie about you, because I know you experience and you live through so much that I know in every experience, every memory, you're so good at holding on to that
Yeah.
all those memories, they can help others, relate to,
Right.
because a lot of us like, grew up, a lot of the same way. For me, it was very similar of
Right.
like, not in poverty, but it
Right.
was like we never were living off like good. We were decent. We're like, we're kind of getting by, but I do
Exactly.
believe that people that kind of go through that are the best people in the world, because of like, they've seen the ugly, the bad, like
Right.
the struggle, that now when they're starting to kind of grow older, they start to like appreciate everything. So it does something to our heart, where like it touches our heart so
Yes.
deeply that we see on the other side that we just want to, if it does a good job, that we just want to help, want to
Yeah.
help others. And this is kind of what we're doing now, like we just want to,
Well,
because we're such light beings that we have so much energy that it's almost like we need to share it, like how
Exactly.
how God kind of gives us so much energy. It's almost like we gotta release it, because it's almost too much for
right.
oneself.
Yes, I have to get out and let it go. You know the song "Let It Go." Let
Yeah,
it go?
yeah.
Well, and I was not to be born. My mother was to have a miscarriage, and like I said, I told somebody I came out kicking, and I'm still kicking. But
You're
no,
still gonna go out whenever the
well,
day you're
and
still
I
gonna
was
go
to,
kicking.
she was to have a miscarriage, and then I lived, and then I was a very sickly child and had illness that I was to die. The doctor said they had really no hope for me. And then one doctor experimented with a new type of injection that came out in New York, and he asked my parents if if it would be all right to try it on me, and they agreed, and that sort of brought me out of the high temperatures and delirium that I had, and I got stronger. And then a doctor recommended dance lessons to strengthen my body, and that's how I got into
That's
being a
amazing.
dancer, a professional dancer. It was God's gift to me. I was just, you know,
It was like almost like your second chance
from
because
the
almost, yeah,
day,
it's almost like that day, like
yeah,
he wasn't a doctor, he
from
was an
day one,
angel.
it was
He was
like,
an angel
this
guiding
is
you towards your path.
this is my gift from day one. I was just a natural at it. So,
Because that's how we met. Like it was
yeah,
2019 July. I know it wasn't July 4th, but it was the 4th of July at the
yes, it
Tuscarora. Oh,
was.
was it 4th of July
First
then?
town days.
Yeah, yeah, at the
It
Tuscarora
was over
Park.
4th of July.
And then they had because I originally I went there for the fireworks and I was excited, but they were just so anticlimactic. They lasted like 5 minutes. I was like, "What is this?" And I was kind of disappointed. I was like, "Okay, whatever. I'll do a quick walk and I'll head home." And when I was walking, I heard the music, I heard the band. I was like, "Man, like these guys are so talented." It was La Flavor. I didn't know them back then. Now,
Yeah, I told you the name of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I was at the stands, and I was like, something in me, like, cause I'm kind of like you, like dancing in music,
Oh,
just it draws me so much that I was like,
yes.
I gotta go up there, and like I was kind of like looking at the dance floor. I was like, all right, like who, like like seeing everybody dancing, and immediately I saw the way you were just like, 'cause everybody was kind of dancing, but you were the one that was like so like it was you and everybody else was on your dance floor, like the way that you were like expressing yourself, like it spoke to me. So like immediately I was like, I wanna go dance over there. So I went down there and I was telling my mom today how a little bit of it,
Oh, oh,
I went on the dance floor, I was dancing, and we locked eye contact. You didn't move and like I didn't move, and it was just like like building each other up in the dance
yeah,
floor. And to me that was just like, I was telling my mom, like, there's only certain people in this life that you meet that you feel certain
that
connection
connection.
there, that like
Right,
we only knew each other right there for like a few minutes, and I already
right.
like felt like,
And then we had seen each other for
yeah,
two
like, yeah,
years.
I felt so comfortable,
And
like I just felt like I knew
I
you.
was so glad you recognized me, because I had a big hat on, and I
Yeah,
thought, and with a big brim and covering my face practically, and I thought, oh my God, that was God sent. And
everything happens at the divine
I
time.
always tell people, music is my drug. Oh, I can just feel
Something about it
oh,
too.
from
It's and I think just I love looking at everything so profoundly and so scientifically too, that I always kind of been drawn to that same feeling, and I was just like kind of like I was like kind of want to figure out why. So I found out too that, well, besides that, I found out like whenever you're dancing too, like you tap into like almost like this flow state of you're just being with the music, like you're
oh,
nothing
I
else, you're
am.
just
I don't even
being.
see anybody around me.
And the beautiful thing about that too is like the point of dancing is not to get anywhere. It's really just to be in the dance itself. If anything, you don't ever
Exactly.
want it to end. And
Right.
I think like that's the beauty. That's the part of the magic when you're into it. Like you get like so lost that it's not you. It's your body,
You're
your
right.
spirit just expressing itself
Yeah.
to like the movements and
Yeah.
everything.
My mind is so into the music, like I said, I
Zone
barely
everything
even
out.
see anybody.
Yeah.
Even my partners,
Yeah.
I don't even visualize them or see them
You just, yeah.
actually.
If anything, you're feeling it. You're based off of feeling. Everything is like
Yeah.
frequency and feelings. Because I know my that's something my stepdad has been pretty good at. Like he'll always love his music. He always like
Now, who's this?
my stepdad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was a big influence in my life, in a lot of the ways, and he always loved music, and he always had like speakers in his room, and I never really understood like having like a nice little speakers till I finally got my own, and like hearing the music so clear at the high frequency and everything. When I was little too, my mom was always kind of like dancing. She was more like a public figure type, where she would like always go
Right.
to schools and talk and do speeches. But for me, like I was kind of like, how you were saying, like I was so quiet and shy. I was like scared of the world, and
Right.
then eventually, like seeing my parents just be so open, and especially like from from both of them, like learning that it doesn't matter like what people think of you. And I always tell people, like, people are gonna judge you nonetheless. So why live for somebody else and worry about what they're gonna think of you? Why when in
Yeah.
reality you can be over there, because
Right.
people are like, oh, that's so embarrassing. How can you go over the dance without any alcohol? You're crazy, because people need like drinks to get tipsy to go there. But like
I always tell the guys when they come and dance, or say a date, I guess, and I can't. I said, look,
yeah, they're
nobody's
so tense.
just move the
Let it
way,
go.
and yeah, and I said, don't worry about if you don't have to be a good dancer to enjoy the music.
No, and and they have like this almost like view of like, oh, like I can't do it if I'm not good.
Right.
Of course, if you never do it, how you gonna get good? You just gotta like you were saying, you just gotta let it go, and like
Yeah.
let it experience
Just
you
do your
and
own
experience each
thing.
other.
I said, just do what's comfortable for you. You don't have to be no professional to enjoy it. And, that's what I tell them. And I said, just get out there and listen to the beat and move the way you feel comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. Like whether it's like there's a certain dancer, there's a certain that. Who cares? It's just like like you were saying, it's just what
Yeah.
speaks to you. Just because we all perceive everything different, we
Right.
perceive this. Somebody can show us like the same exact PowerPoint or the exact same
Exactly.
thing, and I'm gonna pick up something from it based upon like my perception, based upon like everything that I'm into, everything I learn.
Right.
You're gonna take your own perception. They might be very similar, but we can still differentiate.
Yeah.
Between. And I think that's the beauty.
I have met more people through my dancing that just come up and say, I just enjoy watching you. And I always feel that's God's gift to me to give to others then.
No, absolutely. Just
I'm
'cause-
not trying to show off or be
No,
better. I just get into it. I don't, like I said, and I have met more wonderful people just through my dancing. And they'll come up and say, "Oh, I saw you dancing there." I saw you
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, like you were saying, people kind of follow you. We're like,
Yes, yeah.
like one of the last times we seen each other was at the Tuscarawa Park, and I remember one of the ladies you met her like you said Mount Ellen, or where was it that you met her, that she followed you to the park too. So I know you were telling me people kind of tend to
Right.
follow you, like to see you
Yeah.
dance, just because like you were saying, like
Yeah.
I think people feel that you're not doing it with the wrong intention of like, oh, I want to show off, I'm the best.
I'm not trying to.
But you're doing it from a pure heart of
That's
like
right. It just draws me up there. It's like, and I'm not trying to show
No,
off.
people can feel that sense of
or
purity
say I'm better
that you
than
have within you.
say I'm better than you or that. And I wanted to tell you, one of my students at this First Town Days just this past July, here he came and he didn't have a chair and he sat on the ground talking to me, and then he got up and danced a few dances and he even tried to do a few little kicks. But he just passed away a few days ago of cancer.
Oh, how
But
old was he, by the way?
26.
Oh, so he was still.
And I said, I had that joy and that remembrance of him, the two of us up there dancing and carrying on, and he
And that's-
did some.
yeah,
ki-
that's
but
what it
that's
should
the
be.
last good memory
Oh, you have.
I have of him. But it's a good memory,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
that I got to spend time with him,
Yeah, that's
with
the most.
music and dancing, which he loved too.
That's the most precious thing out of anything. It's just like
Yes.
that bond that you guys created right then and there.
Exactly.
It goes beyond like anything physical, anything that you can
Yeah.
describe. And that memory is not always gonna live in your mind, but it's
Right.
also gonna live in your heart because of like the powerful. How you were saying how powerful it was just to
Right.
like really be like in the moment.
Exactly.
Experiencing together.
Well, and like I said, God gave me that last good time with him. And I'll always remember that. I always remember the last good
Memory
time.
that you have with somebody.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he sat down and we talked, and then we got up and danced, and that was over the 4th of July at First Town Days at the park, at Tuscarora Park. And like I said, I'm glad I had that good memory, not him laying in bed and
Yeah.
dying,
Yeah, because
So-
I know a lot of the times people tend to hold on to like those like soapy moments where they're like they're remembering like the last breath, but when
Right.
in reality they should be going back a little bit far, because at that point that's not them, the disease or whatever it was. It kind of
Okay, we have enough of you.
yeah
Oh, wow.
yeah, and there
I
it
told
is.
you it was going to
Yeah,
come down.
now they really care. But I like this that we don't feel anything.
At least they have this closed up here for us.
Yeah, oh yeah. Otherwise, I think we might have to get a little
Yeah.
bit.
How long are you going to have us
We
talk?
want to take like a little break and then eat
Well, we
something.
could till this is
Yeah.
over. Thank you. Anyway, what was I saying about?
Your friend, whenever. Oh, she's distracting me too.
I don't know. I was talking about here, and then it's school. You know,
School
down
with
there at school. With,
the lady that you met, that she said if she wanted to use your part of like your lines, your quotes.
she would say to me, "Oh my God, that is so funny."
Clever, too.
And I'll tell you, then my son, he is a comedian. I told him, I said, you should be in show business or a comedian. But he was very bright. He wanted to be a sports lawyer. But I said, if you don't do that, you could be a comedian, because he picked up on my sense of humor, I guess, too. And it was just funny how, I would say these lines about the women down in Florida getting the lips and all that, they were stuck out so bad. I would say they look like blowfish, or like
They're still doing that
or they
too.
want to kiss you, or I said it's pretty bad when your lips enter the door before you do. Oh, I mean, I had these, and she said, "Oh my God, that's one of the lines." She said, "Can I use that?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah, like,
So
go
she's
ahead.
making off on my lines.
You should have been like, all right, you can use it, but first let me do a little copyright. That every time you use it, every time you use it, that gets popular, or whatever. Like whatever money comes back to me.
Yeah. So anyway, and then every time we'd be out, I would say something funny, and I know people say, even up here, "Can I use that line?" Because I say we're aging out, and that's good. Can I use that? Because we're aging out. I said, "Yeah, that's the truth. We're aging out, but it doesn't mean we have to fall apart."
That's
Are
it.
we on?
Oh yep, we are on. Yeah. No, you're good. I just want to, like I said, like I like to catch you off guard too.
I
Just,
figured after when I saw you sitting a little serious, I bet we're on. And he's.
no, which is like okay, like like this
But
is kind of
that's-
like I guess my game face, but I don't have
But
we
I
don't
said,
have to be serious.
did
We
you
can
ever
just-
see the movie Avatar?
Yeah. Are you talking
Well-
about wait, which
well,
one?
those
With
women-
like the blue people or?
Well, with the noses and the real funny looks and the faces with the chin. Okay. With the chin sticking out. Anyway, I said those women down there, a lot of them look like those Avatar women in that movie.
How they were.
Chins way, they get their chins done and way out, and oh, it's horrible. And their nose jobs, they want those Jewish
Quote
women.
unquote, like like the perfect. Yep, I know.
But
girls,
it's not
if they had like a little
perfect.
bump, they would hate that. Like,
That's what they did.
They wanted to like
Yes.
be narrow,
That's
narrow.
what they did. It was make it like a ski slope.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, why don't you just keep your natural nose? It would be better than but they look like Avatar people. If you ever see it. And they're real goofy looking with the big chin sticking out and the nose like ski slopes. Well, anyway. Anyway, what else is new to talk about? What's a good subject? How people are being corn-fed?
I mean,
I don't want to insult
no,
anybody.
I know. I mean,
So
that's
we want to keep that out.
That's kind of like been known, so we don't have to tap into
No.
it. I'm sure people see.
Well,
visually.
let's talk about our next adventure where we're going to do this.
Yeah,
About
yeah.
nature.
Yeah, so something.
Hopefully,
we
we'll have some few days. Maybe we can do some yet this October, November.
That's what I'm trying to do. Take advantage of like the last sunny good days. I mean, every day is a good day,
I
but I'm
know.
trying to take advantage of like the sunny good
If
weather.
we know it's going to be that way, we
Yeah,
should plan.
yeah, because that'd be cool. Just because we share a lot of traits, so I figure we
Yeah,
could probably go on a hike or something. I
Right.
bring the equipment. We get to the peak of the height or whatever, and then
Right.
I get a couple shots of the view, which I will make a video by itself, which is like a cinematic video, and then I can incorporate an intro, kind of be off that day, and then kind of do a little.
Yeah, I could
Even
take.
if it's a 20-30 minute show podcast type of thing.
Boy, we're having all kinds of sound system. Oh my
These are not sound effects. This is real. I repeat, this is real.
God. This is all part of not our show.
this is a whole different show.
This is background sound checks.
This is Lifeline right here.
That's why I said my street's rather quiet compared to this. But what was I going to say? Oh, I said I could take you out to Camp Tuscazor, or I have many different places that I like to go, and but that is up in the hills, and there's this ledge. It's called, I keep always forgetting the name of it, that I have gone out on, and you can look over Dover Dam, and it's beautiful. It would be nice now, maybe when some of the leaves have fallen too, to see it better.
Yeah. To see that, they were
It's
saying.
called something with some eagle nest or something. It's called the eagle's nest or the bald eagle's nest. But it's very, very exciting. But you have to really climb up hills in that. So I
Ooh,
don't know
see.
about your equipment.
Yeah, which I said, if I get that bag is fine, but I want to get a duffel bag that way I can
Yes.
just strap it over the top, and that way it doesn't take too much stress on me. Because anytime I go hiking, I always carry a bag with water, camera, gloves, just because I like climbing and I like doing all kinds of stuff
I have
too.
a bunch of bags, but I don't. They're about that size.
Yeah, I
so
know. I'm
you
thinking
need
about
a
getting
bigger
one a little bit bigger. I'm thinking about getting a bigger one, like a little duffel one. That way I can put everything in there, just strap it on, and
Yeah.
just kind of go up the hill or whatever.
Okay.
So we'll find a way to make it work. I had one that was pretty good size, but I threw it in the washer, and our old washer kind of like tore it up. Like after it came out, it was like kind of stripped. And I was like, man,
So you want a bigger
a
backpack?
little
Is
slightly
what
bigger. Like yeah,
not
kind
the
of
carry-on.
yeah, kind of like a carry, but it has like a strap. Like yeah,
Right.
that way I can kind of carry like a duffel.
I
I can kind
have
of
some
strap
at
it on.
home, and I'll look at them, or you can come.
Uh-huh.
That you can have it if you can
Okay.
use them. I was just gonna have a yard sale on that, and I thought, no, I've been giving stuff away. But I have some bags, and some have straps in that, and they were my fiance's, and some are brand new.
I believe, especially like with like how like a lot of them kind of like like a nicer style too. So I can imagine how
Right.
nice they would be too. Good quality too. I can imagine,
Yeah.
especially built back because I know a lot of the stuff back then has
Well,
a lot better build quality than it does in today's world. Today is
They
all about
made-
like value over or volume over quantity over quality
They
nowadays. Mm-hmm.
made things that lasted years ago. Today, it's they want to
Short term. They want you to use it
keep
1 2
rebuying,
years.
rebuying.
Yep.
I have clothes that people say, "Oh my God, that's gorgeous. Where did you buy that?" I said, "I have clothes that I wore when I was in my 20s that still look brand new."
Jeez, that's amazing.
And
too.
they'll ask me. I said, "I don't know. It's when my son was born. I was 28." And I'll tell you, they still look as good as the day I bought them. Now the newer stuff, God, you wash them or do something, and
They
fall
start to
apart.
fade. Yeah, they like just like the
So-
material itself.
Yeah.
What's like a shirt style. It just like tours up. All right, man.
Oh, hey, would you calm it down? Can't you see we're doing a show here? But
Did you
anyway,
see the guy on the top of the or I guess the mannequin at the little top corner?
yes, I know the guy that has that place, and I've been in it. I'm in the Home Historical Association, and next door and all that, they belong to next door. But I've been in there and looked at his things, and I can't remember, but the one guy went to school over at Dover High too, that's in the building but on the other side. But he went to Dover High.
So yeah, so like it's
So he
it's
knows
cool.
my son.
Yeah, it's cool too that that you were from here too. So like you get to see the town itself kind of like shift, kind of like rebuild, construct, and like you get to
Right.
see like businesses. You get to see people grow up and then kind of open up their own businesses too. So that's
Right.
got to be a
Well,
nice
this is a high school
perspective.
student
Yeah.
when he was with my son. Now, I wasn't born here. I came here from California at the age of 5, but then I left shortly after high school. Then I was gone 15 years. Then I came back, and then I was in shows touring. And then having places in Florida. So I always kept then a home base, but I was
Yeah,
off and
tell
on.
me a little bit more about like your traveling between those 15 years of not being in this town for a while. Like tell me more about
Okay,
your
well,
adventures throughout then.
After high school, I was planning on auditioning for a professional dancing job, but here I had to have major female surgery that I couldn't dance for a year. So I just did other things, got a job here, working. I started at Miller's Studio, and in 2 weeks I was called for another job, a bookkeeping job over at Espencheat Oldsmobile, and then Permaglass Mesh, and I was a bookkeeper and did accounting and all that. And so I did that. So when I got well enough, I sent pictures and my resume in. My teacher told me, my dance teacher up in Canton, what to do. And I got a telegram back from the choreographer of the Rockettes, wanted to know my telephone number and the time and date that he could call me. And I still have these telegrams, fortunately, that my first husband didn't rip those up. But anyway, so I gave him that, and he called, and he wanted to know when I could come for an audition. Well, here, when he called, here my family and I went on a vacation. My dance teacher said, "Oh, you won't hear for 6 months or a year." So here we took off for 2 weeks to go to Florida and see relatives and all this. I got back, and here I had this telegram, and I thought, oh, God, I started to cry. I missed my big chance. Well, I telegraphed him back. That's when we did telegraphs. You know how old I am. That I was sorry. I was on vacation with a family vacation. So I was back in town, and to let me know when the next audition would be. So he had the big audition, but he didn't get his quota. There was maybe 200, 300, 400 girls there that didn't make it. So he wrote me again, when could he call and
Go again.
what time and date. So I told him I had a full-time job, but call me after work. So anyway, he called me and said, "How soon can you be up here?" I said, "Well, I have to let my employers know." So he said, "All right." So within 2 days, I was up in New York auditioning at Radio City Music Hall, and I had a private audition, and my mother made me wear a hat and the white gloves. That
Uh-huh.
was the prim and proper thing, and the high
Oh,
heels and the
yep.
dress. That's how we dressed.
Uh-huh.
So I remember sitting there waiting down by the elevator, and he came personally, Russell Market, came personally to pick me up, take me up to the dressing room to change clothes into my rehearsal clothes. And I had a private audition, and he said to me, and he measured me. You always got measured. And there was a tape measure that's still there. I even got my picture there a couple years ago again to see if you were tall enough. You had to be between 5'5" and 5'8" at that time.
So that was like the high requirement for females
You
back
had to
then.
be no shorter than 5'5" and no taller than
Then 5'8".
5'8" when I was there. They were shorter years ago. Now they're taller.
Yeah,
but
so it's kind of nice seeing like the timeline how
Well-
like they kind of go, which is funny. Yeah, like you're
well,
saying.
the generations are getting taller. The women are getting
Yeah.
taller. Years ago, they were 5'1", 5'2", 5'3", 5'4".
Yeah, the
They
average
were
I think
shorter.
for females like 5'6".
Then he
now.
raised the height when women start getting taller. So anyway, he measured me, and I measured at 5'5" and 3/4.
Ooh, so yeah.
So I made that. So I had this private audition, and he looked at me and said, "How soon can you be back here?" And I said, "Well, I have a full-time job. I'll have to give him 2 weeks' notice because that was the prim and proper thing you did back then." So he said, "Okay, I need you as soon as you can get here." So I came back, flew back, and it was the first time I ever had flown on a plane and
Ooh.
by myself.
Uh-huh.
That shows you what guts I
Yeah,
had
and
then.
how old were you at that time again?
I was had my 20th birthday.
Dang, yeah, so that's cool.
And I had never flown, never been away from home, never been to an overnight camp.
How did that feel, like that experience itself? Like, do you remember
Oh.
like the feeling of just like,
Well,
I guess
I
the
can
first
see-
independence, I guess. You got a glimpse of that.
Yeah, I wanted it so bad. I just thought I have to do it to get there. And anyway, I made it, and he said, "How soon can you be back?" And I said, "Well, I have to give the 2 weeks' notice into my employer." I came back home and told him that I made it, and I said, "I'm giving you 2 weeks' notice." And they said, "Berlinda, this is a chance of a lifetime. Go."
So they were.
They let me
I'm
go.
glad that they were, so cool. Like
That
they were
was
like they
Mary
wanted
and-
you to win. They
Mar-
wanted them to win. They wanted
Mary
you.
and Guy Carpenter. And anyway, I came home, telegraphed him back that I could be there, and I was back up there and got packed. I was there in 4 or 5 days in rehearsal. My first show was September 19th that I was on that Radio City Music Hall stage.
So everything kind of like after that
In
audition,
19
everything kind of started fast and
Yeah,
quick.
1963. And that's how my life has been. I've never planned anything. It just happened. So I know God has a hand in it. And it was just like a miracle. Like I never had to re-audition. Some women auditioned 4 times
Multiple times. They're like, okay,
before
let
they
me
ma-
let me see, let me see, let me see.
before they made it. They weren't good enough. And he kept telling what to rehearse, what to practice. So on September 19th, I made my first appearance then on Radio City Music Hall show. And that theater holds 6,200 people. And we did 4 shows a day, 5 at Easter and Christmas, and that theater was packed every time. We would look out our dressing room window upstairs, and there would be lines around
People
the
were
whole.
just like waiting, like for everybody.
There would be lines around the whole block waiting to get in to see our show, and we would scream, "Oh my God, all the people!" But it was really some experience, let me tell you.
Man,
And I had never been to an overnight camp. I was so homesick. I cried for years every day, missing my family.
which is fair because I'm sure you were very close and attached to
I
them.
was.
How we talked earlier of like the
Right.
attachment of like, but once you start kind of moving,
Yeah.
once you transition, you make that like it's like
Like
that year.
you-
It kind of took
like
you a
you
little
did.
bit to kind of get comfortable and stuff. But I'm sure you always had that feeling of like you miss home, but at least you're okay and comfortable with the. on
But
the
I
go.
wasn't that sad to leave the job.
Yeah, no, but
What I'm
because
saying.
you almost like you knew like, you knew what it was, like how we were talking earlier, how like with my family we're getting to that point where like everybody's kind of taking their own path now.
Right.
So yeah, but I'm sure for you like that was you back then. You were branching out of your nest. Now you
Right.
you got your wings. So now you were starting to fly. And once you fly, once you leave the cage, you can never come back to the
Yeah.
cage. You're always in flight now.
Right.
And I'm
I
glad that you
always-
pursued that.
My saying is, you can give your children 2 things: love and wings to fly. and be on their own.
That's the best thing you can nurture to
And
yeah,
I've
to
always
somebody.
felt that even with my own child. I tried to love him to death and then give him wings to do what he wanted to do, and I was backed him. But yeah, it was an experience. Like I said, I miss my family, but there I lived in New York, and eventually I got my own place in Manhattan. I had roommates, but you know everybody's different. That's okay. Do your job. We're interrupting you, so we're butting into your day. But anyway, like I said, I eventually had my own apartment in a nice new white brick building. I still go back and look at it and say there was my apartment, and I lived by myself then the last years up there, and I was a Copacabana girl in a Peppermint Lounge, and I did commercials and I did tours and.
So during
I-
that period,
but I
everything
kept-
was like so like
but-
you were so active and
I
everything.
never was out without work. People would see me dancing and offer me jobs. And
Dang.
I even worked in the Playboy Club in New York City in the VIP room. I was not a bunny. I never auditioned to be no bunny.
Like
But-
you knew better than that.
Yes, Costas O'Mara. It was a show like a Broadway show, and we had black cocktail dresses on and boas, and we sang and danced, and I have pictures of it to prove
Ooh,
to
yeah,
you.
yeah, that's cool. That'd be cool to see.
We didn't take pictures like they do today.
Yeah, I'm sure
I mean,
nowadays more provocative.
You belch, they take a picture.
Yeah.
But I got a few little, those 3x3s, you know, pictures. But it was very sophisticated, but it was on the top floor, and they called it the VIP room, and only certain people got up to see the show and was in that room, the very, you know, top-notch people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I worked all over and toured all over, and in between different things, I would tour all the Eastern Coast or this and that, you know. So I worked the Coconut Grove Playhouse in Coconut Grove. That was part of the tour, and you know. And now when I lived in Florida, I'd go by there, and it just closed up.
Oh.
Yeah, I used to go in when they still had it open, but it's closed now. And I worked the Goodspeed Opera House. I have this stuff at home. That's why I say I can remember more. By
Oh
my
yeah,
fin-
is it like the little room you said you had like little like kind of like a trophy room that you have like a little memory type of room?
Well,
or-
that too, and then I have boxes full of stuff that my first husband didn't tear up. And thank God my mother and grandmother kept things, and I had things in storage. We moved so much I couldn't get things out of storage.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
thank God that's the things I still have. Some I don't, because he was jealous and tore everything up that he could get his hands on.
That's so like that's crazy to me
Oh,
too. Like
yeah.
somebody that you share your life with, for them to like kind of turn and like do that to
Oh,
like
I
you.
could tell you stories about that, but
Yeah,
that'll
that's
be
funny.
another
Yeah,
section.
Yeah.
But anyway, my life in New York, and I love New York people in New Jersey. Oh, they took care of me. They could tell I was naive and innocent, and I've never had anybody ever.
And I'm glad nobody like took advantage of that too.
No,
I'm glad there was
no,
always good.
They took care of me.
And I think what helped too was that you know your faith and who you were, like you know
Yes.
your belief. I think that kind.
I'm not farting. You take that out of the.
They're like, man, that's a big.
Come
but
on, Jorge, stop.
but I think just like you know like I was like your faith and everything kind of helped you be protected, and you know you I know you were always walking you know with faith that you know within
Well,
you know it's like you know God and
my
everything was
parents
protecting
were very
you.
Christian and very religious. They didn't talk it; they lived it. And
That's different. That's huge. Like you know, 'cause people always talk about like this and that, but their actions say otherwise. They're just like, how you gonna preach for this, but your actions tell me a whole different story.
Right.
So I'm glad that you realize like you know they didn't have to say anything. They just showed you by their actions.
I think God was protecting me through my parents' prayers, and they were very Christian. Like I said, they lived the life. They didn't just talk it; they lived it. And through that, them praying for my safety and myself, and like I said, I feel that got me through. And I can't remember anything bad happening except the guy I was engaged to that was the alcoholic when I was a rockette, and I didn't want to be engaged or get married. I was too young. I wasn't even allowed to go study till I was out of high school. And my parents were very protective of me, which I appreciated. It made me stronger, not depending on, a boyfriend. But I'm losing my train of thought with
I
this.
know it's hard to focus
But
with that.
anyway, like I said, they were just wonderful. The people, I don't know, I dated a lot of very successful men that had their own companies, businesses. I dated some of the stars I worked with, and they were, I can say, all very gentlemen and took care of me and were very, very classy and, more than you have now. There's no class anymore, it seems like. I must say, though, some guys do still try to be from the old school that I've gone out. I don't call it dating because I'm not
Yeah.
into dating, but going out to dinner and shows.
That's more fitting, really, because like dating is
Yes.
almost like you like it's more like a learn, like yeah.
I'm
I
not
see what you're
dating to
saying.
have a permanent relationship or a marriage. I'm not into that
No, it's just
anymore.
like I want you. You basically you want the experience itself, like
Right.
just 'cause-
The companionship is basically what it is. And when they start pushing this marriage, I'm just very honest with them. I don't want to waste their time or anything. And I said, look, the M word is not in my vocabulary. If that's what you're looking for, there's plenty of single women out there that would love to, be
yeah.
married.
And two, I realized like within like my generation, I see a lot of people like it's almost like that's all they're looking for. Like like I can't wait till I get married. Like they're always constantly looking
I
for
know.
that something outside of themselves, like other person that's magically gonna make them happy. But I'm
Right.
just like. No, like that's not how it works. You gotta make yourself happy. If you want to be happy with somebody else,
Right.
you first gotta be independent. You gotta be happy. You gotta have all these morals, values within
Yes.
yourself. Because the minute we look for outside of ourselves, that's why so many people nowadays their relationship never works. Like it works for so
Right.
long, but it's always up and down because people are so obsessed with like like I gotta find
Right.
that person that's gonna make me feel good.
Right.
No, like I said, if you don't make yourself feel good, then
Right.
like
Well,
the best
you
person
know
in the
what I
world.
tell people? Find yourself first. Get that security within yourself before you start thinking that. I had guys here in New Philly before I even left for the Rockettes wanting to marry me. And like I said, I was allowed to date to proms, sweater hops,
But it
special
was
occasion, but my parents wouldn't allow me ever to go study, and I didn't want to. I wasn't into that. I was into my dancing. But I had guys, as soon as they'd start dating me, and they were older, start talking this marriage stuff. And I'm so glad I never fell for that because I wouldn't have
Yeah.
had the experiences that I had
And that's
having
true.
that career.
Yeah, so talking about that too, like it's crazy how like one decision can kind of block off a whole path of like I recently watched this movie called Mr. Nobody. And it kind of deals with that. So the whole concept of the movie, it's very like sci-fi, very like it's kind of like metaphysical, and not kind of like that, but it's mostly like so it's about this one kid with his parents, but the way that the movie starts, it starts with them being like in like a heaven, and they're like they're with like a whole bunch of kids, they're with angels, and like the concept of this was like that every individual like knows the past, present, future, knows everything when they're like in up there, but like there's these angels that kind of come down and like they touch you and they say like that's what we have this little above our lip, and apparently they skipped him, and then whenever he went to Earth, like he had knowledge of everything, like the past, the present, and the future. So it was kind of cool talking. I know.
They want to say something. Yes, so far we are. Thank you, honey.
I think we'll probably end it within like next 5 to 10 minutes, just because it's too much noise
Yes.
now. I
We
mean,
can
we
do
gotta,
this.
yeah,
It's
because
turned out to be a nice, pleasant day.
yeah.
But too bad we had to
I
pick
know,
a day. That,
but I mean, we did get a lot of good points,
Yes.
but
I want to tell you, I have at least 3 or 4 babies up there in heaven I lost through miscarriage. And I truly believe, too, that they're looking
Still.
down on mommy. And I often look up and say, I think of them. And, I feel they're my little angels up there.
yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it. And if anything, yeah, you have more people looking out after you because
Yes,
like
yes.
I'm a firm believer that whether it's a miscarriage or not, like that's still like a soul. So whether like
Right.
they become physical form in this world or not, like they're
Right.
still, that's a soul right there. So they're still gonna be up there, one way or another.
Exactly.
Still interconnected within us, like our
Right.
hearts, or like watching over us.
I always wanted 12 children, and I couldn't have them. And they know that I wanted them so bad. But like I said, they know that. And I just feel every now and then I'll look up and say, I know you're there.
And and I'm sure you not only know, you feel like I'm sure you feel
Oh, yeah.
like
Yesterday when I was out on this I call it walking hike, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
I sit there on benches, and a lot of times I'll look up and I know Jesus Christ is looking down on me between the trees. The other day I could just feel him. He was just,
The
I felt,
presence.
yeah, looking down on me, and it was the beautiful sky and the trees and fall trees, and it was between the trees, and that was up at Dover Park too.
Oh, the Dover Park
Yeah,
then?
that's another place, a nice place to go, and it's quieter.
Yeah, that would be that. Yeah, that would be cool. Which like now we know for
Yeah,
next time.
right.
Which is kind of ironic that because I've been here every now and then, but it's weird that the moment that we come, they gotta be working on that too.
Well-
It's almost like we're doing good, but these obstacles I try to kind of like get in our
Yeah,
way. But I'm
yeah.
glad that we still because I'm
Well,
pretty happy with how
and
it
you
turned
can
out.
edit, I guess, some of that.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. The first part I'm gonna leave it pretty much it, but
Yeah.
the second part I might have to look through it and like okay, like if it's too loud here, let me clip that a little bit.
You could write notes that what we discussed you want to redo, maybe.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah, and that's something I wanna do. Like the more because like I'm just starting out with this, so the more I do it, like the more I get experience from it. So okay, like from now on, like okay, like now like at home, I do like my little futon. But what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna put like my little computer in the middle. That way, if I have guests that we're talking about something like an event, I can just pull it
yeah.
up on the computer in my screen and we can kind
Yeah,
of discuss it.
right.
So like okay, like I was like next time I'm gonna do that at home, and then yeah, for the next podcast, like I want to make sure like I kind of like you were saying, kind of like not write like a structure, but like write like notes. Okay, like we have so many notes. Okay, let's hit this. Like let's kind of hit this, and that'll kind of keep us a little bit more
Yeah.
structure without
I'm a
limiting
note-
us.
I'm a note person more than. on the
I've been
computer.
I've been lately because I've been trying to be more structured with my life, because I'm doing video, I'm doing photography, I'm doing
Oh.
music, I'm doing podcasts, I'm learning. So for me, like most of that, I keep all of it in my head,
Yeah.
which I realize that
No,
it's
no.
hard. No,
Releasing that by writing, it releases
yes,
me.
yeah,
Even
No,
in
there-
bed.
there's something magical in that.
Even in bed, like at night, I have a pen and a pad down in my little drawer.
That's smart.
And in the morning, I'll wake up, or at evening, I'll think of something instead of getting up. I write
I'll
it
write
down
it.
on that, and then that way it relaxes me. I can go to sleep.
And you let it go. Yeah, you let it go. That's good.
That's right. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah, that's something I realized. So I think it was like about a month ago or two. I finally went to. I mean, I have so many like different notebooks and coloring and paints and stuff. But I went to get a specific. I think it's a sketchbook. No, it's not a sketchbook. It's some type of notebook. I forgot the actual name of it. Yeah, like just random stuff.
Is Rudolph here?
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's Christmas
I
already.
mean, is it December and
Yeah, I
Santa
heard that.
came to town? He does come early, I
I
know that,
guess.
but not in October.
I guess it's like that's a Halloween costume, Santa Claus. But no, but for those books, I got 5 of them, and now I'm separating like I wrote down a photography one or a
Oh,
videography
yeah,
one.
that's what to do.
Yeah, I did like recipes because I like cooking, so like I want to take my
Oh,
recipes.
and I
my
love
mom's.
to eat. I've always
Yeah.
told guys that like to cook, we're a perfect match. I like to eat. and
Yeah,
you like
yeah.
to
So it's
cook.
like you keep cooking, I'll keep eating. But yeah, I finally started separating them, and then I just finished up this little mural project that I did.
Okay.
And keeping notes helped me tremendously because like I would work on for like 5-6 hours at a time. I'll write so
Oh,
many
yeah.
notes. Okay, like I'll
I
leave
have
it.
notes every
and then
day.
next day when I come back on it, I could just pick up kind of where I
Right.
left off. And like for like color grading, I was doing before. I was color grading, but I wasn't writing down. So like anytime I would work on a new project, let me mess with it,
Yeah.
try to figure out what works again. But this time I wrote down, okay, like I wrote down the numbers, okay, like this color grading, like 27 degrees by like 3% in the red section looks very good. And like I
Right.
was writing all these notes. And then now when like, my the videos I've been working on now, like I'll look at my notes and now it's kind of becoming my like muscle memory where like I just type in like
That's
the
what
colors.
I do. I write, I have a note list.
And it's good to put
of
into the
things that
physical,
need
putting it into the
things
physical
that need
world.
repaired, or somebody I need to call about something, and I
Yeah.
write. And that way, I don't like talking really after 9 in the evening. I like to
I
wind
agree.
down.
I like being
And
with myself
so
after like
I have
9,
those
10.
notes, and I can just let it go to the next day, and I know that it'll be there what to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. You
No,
know?
that's good because I know people do it on their phones, but it's not the same
Yeah.
because you don't see it. But when you write it on a piece of paper, or
Right.
I have a couple of whiteboards. What I'm doing now, because I'm meeting up with somebody. His name is Kelly next week. We were close. She's an older person too. She's kind of a little bit more like us. So it hasn't happened. So this time I was just like, all right, I told her I was all right. I want to write it down in physical,
Are you
and
doing
we
a
both.
podcast on her? Or
Yeah,
with
yeah. I
her?
just want to do like a little interview her a little bit because she's got some positive things to share and stuff. She's the reason why I started getting into tea and stuff like that. she's very positive person.
You got into what?
Drinking hot tea.
Oh.
Yeah, she's the one that, because before I always thought about like the like little tea bags, but she's the one that introduced me to like loose leaf tea,
Yeah.
like I guess more like real tea. And
Yeah.
I started kind of exploring with it, and I was like, man, like I never knew tea could be so
Oh,
good for you
I'm
and
more
so
of a
helpful.
tea person than
I am
coffee.
too, because coffee kind of upsets my stomach,
Oh.
and I found out that tea doesn't, and tea has even more because they both had caffeine. I never knew tea had caffeine. And
Well, you can get decaf, which I
yeah,
do.
that's true too. But I mean, I
Like
kind of like it. I
coffee.
kind of like both. Well, on tea wise, but
I should have
coffee-
asked for decaf because I don't eat.
I
drink a lot
didn't
of
even think about it
caffeine.
either. But I mean, it wasn't bad.
Well, I didn't drink all of it anyway, but it helped warm me up.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, because when it was kind of chilly. Now the
Uh-huh.
sun's kind of coming out too. Now
I know.
yeah.
I said now this evening it could rain again, but or storms. But
Which
I
is
don't
funny,
care.
because we started kind of sunny, we got cloudy, and now we're going back to the sunny.
Right.
Like that's just
You
the
said
high
something about a book. I've had umpteen people want me to write a book and say I'll be the first to buy it, but a lot of my friends are passing away, and and I wonder if it would relate. Talking about the Peppermint Lounge and the Copa, if it would relate to younger people.
I think, just because I know there's a lot of people that are like, there's a lot of people that kind of look past everything, but there's also a lot of people that are kind of like aware, especially now. I think if you were to do it, I think if you did it 5 years ago, I don't think it would be as impactful. But I think if you do it the next few years, because people are starting to kind of like become unified, like the young and the old generation, and I feel like I'm in the middle where I want to breach those two paths.
What I would want out of the book is not bragging about what I did.
But it's
would
just the
be
experience itself,
The
I'm sure.
meaning of how I got out of my first marriage without being killed, how I did it. And
A lot of girls would help
Dr.
that.
Phil, I wondered if I should even write to them. I love to help women to tell them what not to do and what to do to get out of something like that so they're not murdered. And
That would
that's
help
what
a
I
lot.
would.
That
And
would
then
help a
about
lot.
mental illness, that my son has mental illness.
And that's everything that's relatable, in today's
And I've
world
lived
still.
it all. I've lived in it all. And
And you
if
got
I
out of
could
it,
help
too.
one person save their life, that's the only reason I would write a book.
Which if you were to do that, I think you would help more than one person. I think you would get praised for being who you are.
I really don't want to write one on my own. I feel I don't want to. It's.
I know. I mean, it is tough when you think of a book itself. Like, meaning,
I'd rather say it and have a tape recorder and
and
somebody
then
else.
somebody kind of write it out. Like, yeah.
I have a woman that's been doing this, and I don't care for her. She's too slow, and she gets things mixed up, and she says it wrong. And well, I'll tell you when we're off. But I didn't know if you knew anybody. I have different people that keep saying, "When are you writing that book?" And
know.
I never thought of writing one till I've had for years people, "When are you writing a book?" And they don't know an eighth.
No, like they know a little bit. Yeah. So imagine.
They might know an eighth of my life.
So
They don't
imagine
know.
if they see, and they not only see, but like they read like
Well-
all the story in details, like
Well, what I was trying to tell you about women being jealous, if they ever knew what I lived through to get where I'm at, maybe they
They-
wouldn't be so jealous.
they would understand, like
Yes.
but yeah, because I'm sure they only see now, but they don't see what you went through to
Yeah.
get there. So they see you. Oh, why is she
I left-
why is she like that? Like immediately like start.
I
that
left
negative
pregnant, 6 months pregnant, to save that baby. That's how I got out of that. I didn't want that man ever touching that baby harmfully. And that gave me the strength, was that baby inside my belly to get out of that. And God told me, don't tell him you're leaving. Don't tell him you want a divorce. That's when they kill you. And that's true. That's how these women get killed, saying they're leaving. And
I'm glad that you followed your intuition.
Yes, I would love to. That's what I'd love to help people.
I swear.
What else did you get for your birthday?
Only freaking tea.
I always say that when it's Christmas time. What else did you get for Christmas? But anyway, that would be the purpose of me writing a book, because there's plenty of very special people in this world that have done
But I like
amazing
that
things.
you like before you start, like that's very important. Like you have like your goal, like what you want to get out of it too.
Yeah.
So I think that by you doing that, you will keep yourself focused, and
Right.
I know for a fact you would succeed in your goal of helping others.
I'll tell you more when we're off
Yeah.
of this about I don't care for this woman that's trying
Mm-hmm.
to write a book on me, and then she wants all the money. Well, it's a long story, and
Just, like,
I
for
would
the
like
wrong
to
reasons.
donate if I made any money to mental illness or abused women and men, to help get homes for them and things like that. I'm not doing it for self gain or money.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's
No,
what she wants, and I don't want that.
yeah, no. Which I'm glad that
So
you caught on to and you're able to like
you
cut
don't
that
write
off.
books, do you?
No, but that might be something I would like to
Because
get
I've
into.
said more to you, told more to you than I've ever told anybody. So you better keep.
No, and I'm very good at like. I mean, I think you are too. Like, with you, I feel comfortable where I can just talk about everything.
Right.
Like the same with
Yeah, I
you.
trust you, and I don't care at my age. I mean, I never dwelt on the negativity, so I never even told my parents what I lived through.
I know what you mean.
I didn't want them, my son doesn't know. I didn't want him
To be
ever to,
feel some type of way towards you.
well, and towards his father. I didn't want him to feel evil or, you know what I'm
So
saying?
that takes a certain level inside inside you, because I know, like, I meet certain people, but like that takes a certain strength for you to. It's like a selfless strength that because you easily could you could take it, you can do this, but
Right.
but you're not thinking about you, of how you felt, because you're thinking of
Right.
them, like you don't want to change their life now that they reach a
Right.
certain spot.
Now I feel at my age, and if God, I always believe if God wants it to happen,
It'll
it'll
happen.
just come. I don't
You don't force, yeah, you don't force anything. You
I don't
organically
ask people
everything.
anything, if it's to be and the right person, it'll come. And
I would
if
agree
I
with
can
that.
teach one lesson to one person and save their life, to me that would be worthwhile, because like I had the biggest career, ever, and running with stars and dating them, and I said, and then for this to happen to me, and this guy threatening me, he'd scar my face, nobody would look at me, or break my legs, I'd never walk again if I left him, and this kind of thing, and how I escaped and left everything material, and God, he really blessed me back with things that I left. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And see, and I'm glad that that you're sharing that too, just because like, people kind of hear about it, but like, especially like hearing is one thing, but like if you were to like put that, because I know
Right.
like they say in movies, like you
Right.
can only get you can capture the emotion and everything, but whenever it
Right.
comes to books, you can get like every little gritty detail, and I think the
Right.
details is what people kind of keep them engaged, like they get lost in the story itself.
Right.
And like you were saying, like you struggled through so much throughout your life based because of other people, especially. So I think you have a lot to offer, like you were saying, especially women and like people that kind of went through it, and like that's something that in today's society, like people are still getting, especially females, are getting mistreated, they're getting abused. I know people personally,
All
like,
the time.
yeah, and like I know, like even younger people, like I was telling you earlier, like one of the girls that that, like, I work with, like her
It's sad.
her relationship
Well,
is
like
this
that
guy that
Gab-
mentally like abuses
Yeah.
her, and like
Yeah.
physically at times.
It doesn't have to be physical.
No, like mental, and
It's
yeah.
just as bad. I had more or less more the emotional mental, because I knew to stay calm or he'd beat me up. And so I never talked back. I never fought back.
Man, that's.
And I never answered. And people would say, "Oh, your wife is so quiet." Well, I thought if I'd open my mouth,
It would only get
I'd
worse.
get beat up
It
at
would only get
home
worse.
for saying. And so I knew to keep. For some reason, God kept me safe by saying, "Stay calm. Don't answer."
And I'm glad that he's always, been by your side, because he's always within us. But it's not until we kind of seek him that he'll seek us back.
Right.
So I'm glad you always had that connection within you, because
Right.
for as bad as everything went, everything could have even, it's a miracle that you're still, alive and here. So
Yeah, 'cause
part of it was you, but
He
the
took a
majority was
gun
that
to
he
my
kept
head.
you.
I can still see it in my bedroom in Phoenix. And then in Phoenix, I was cooking dinner, and he came out rolling that barrel of the revolver, and he wanted me to say, "What are you doing?" And I didn't say a word. He sat down at the table, and he took the gun and shot right at me. And
What? He actually shot it?
he shot at me, and it went right past my leg and into our kitchen cabinet. He wanted to get an uproar from me so he could beat me up.
What?
Oh, yeah.
So it was just like random things like that.
I stayed very calm. That's what I want to stress to people that are being abused. Stay calm.
It's almost like don't
Don't
give them a
talk
reaction. Yeah, like don't.
That's
get,
what
don't,
they want.
Yeah, they want that
then
reaction.
Then it escalates. You say,
That's
"What are you
exactly-
doing?" And then
That's exactly
it
what happened
escalates.
with my parents. It's almost like they would always try to get a reaction
Yes.
of each other, and at that point, that would just kind of like escalate.
No wonder you had problems. I feel so sorry for children that have lived through
Yeah.
that. My heart aches. I cry when I hear those stories.
It is it is sad, just because like
That's why I left
it
mine.
taints a lot of children. Like luckily for me, like I found my way back, but. What about the children that don't find
That's
their way
right.
back? What if like
lot
they're
of them-
still because that what happens.
Some are even committing suicide.
Yeah, yeah. It was like what happens. A lot of them is just like they get down this path of like that's what's really going on, and they don't know how to handle it.
Boy,
Man, there's so
it's
much
been an
going on.
exciting day.
I guess so. Literally. But
Here comes another one, so I just
jeez.
wait. I always pray, oh God,
Hopefully
don't let
everything all right.
anybody be in. It's a fire truck and that. Ambulances.
Dang, they got everywhere. They got.
Oh. I always think, oh God, now what? I always feel blessed then.
I know. Hold on, let me check. Let me see if everything's still on.
Is it on? But anyway, I said, when I hear that, I think how blessed I am that I've made it through and no real scars or anything like that, because I knew, and this is what I'd like to get to women that starts fighting back. Of course, a lot of these women and men are on drugs, so they start fighting like idiots, and then they get killed. And these women that are out getting raped and murdered, it just breaks my heart. And, they're not asking for that. I really resent these perverts that I can't go out and enjoy nature and hiking without thinking, is there someone lurking in the woods or around gonna, rape me at my age or murder me? And it's happening to older women too.
And
And they pick small women. It's not 6 foot, 300
yeah,
pounds.
because they like, well, we can take
Well, they
them. Yeah,
overpower you.
Yep.
So
And what makes me like sick about that too, that I know like that happens like it's been happening internally within like the government itself, because I started kind of getting more into that like around 2019 2020 when I started seeing like missing children, like all these disappearances, like and I would even like with my own eyes, like people will kind of like the videos would get taken down quickly, but I was able to watch videos of people like kind of like the police, they were kind of like guarding like this big house, and like people were trying to get videos, and in the background you see like children like getting put, like thrown into like vans and stuff like that. So all of that is happening, like within the government itself, like with like rape, with like child trafficking too,
Right.
and that's what like
how can you?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's what like really like makes me so angry of just like because like like you hear people like Jeffrey Einstein, you hear so many people of like them like doing so many things, and you kind of see the government like kind of like close their eyes like, oh, like like we didn't see nothing, like it's kind of like they're allowing other people to do that. So yeah, everything's money based. So yeah,
If you have the money,
exactly.
you can buy,
Yeah,
buy your way out
so
of
our
it.
society is almost tainted in the Western world of
It
people,
is.
and that's why a lot of like everything we're fed, like from like the pornography to like to the violence to everything that we give us in TV, like they're almost programming us to kind of
Right.
behave in certain in our lower self, in those like animalistic behavior.
Where you become immune,
Yeah,
almost
yeah, it's
they
almost
wear
like,
you down to, okay, this is, I resent anybody that would ever do anything to a child and not protect them. I used to tell my students, I'm here,
Especially
we
parents,
teachers
yeah.
are here to protect you. And I used to tell them, if anybody says or does anything or touches you in any way makes you
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable, you report it till somebody listens. And a lot of them, I saw different things, and some of these teachers having affairs with their students and that. I
That's
said,
crazy. Yeah, did you, especially you that you were a sub? Like I always hear about it, but I never like personally like experienced that. So for you that
well,
you
I
worked
used
on
to
that.
have some of the boys flirting and want to live with me and all that. I'd say, sit down, you're the student, you're the child, and I'm the adult. Yeah, and they were nice looking.
Yeah, but you knew
and I
to,
was
like,
in
keep
my
the
60s, but I look
but you knew to keep
I look
the-
quite a bit younger than I do
Yeah.
now. But I said I was there to protect them. They were my children.
Yeah, no, that's a good way
And
to.
that's how I felt about each and every one of them. And
I'm glad that you took it personally and you took
Oh,
them
I
in.
did.
Yeah, because like
I
school.
loved them and they loved me, and I hated to even give it up, but I thought it was time.
Which thankfully you did, because like you said right before you retired, like that's whenever the pandemic hit and everything.
Everything.
Like
God
yeah,
was telling me
literally.
it's time to get out, and I had just stuck some money into an annuity that I left in for 3 years, and it was coming due in September.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
Like 2 months after I retired, I always say, thank you, dear Lord. I know that I have the best man in my life.
And that's
It's
yeah,
him.
that's all. Like in reality, like that's
And
all you
I d-
need. That in yourself.
Yeah, and I identify with his mother, having an only child. and taken away from me. And I always tell him, I understand the sorrow and sadness that your mom went through, too, losing you. And so I had that connection there. I just feel like poor Blessed Mary losing her only child and being crucified. How sad. And to have a mother live through that. And I feel I've lived through very similar with my son, and taking him to doctors and hospitals all his life, and then ends up in prison. And I said I did the best I could do, and even school teachers and counselors would say, Berlinda, you're better than two parents, and it happened. I think all the work and effort and to save him from his father, and sometimes I feel Satan just working overtime. But, what are you going to do? You have to go on with your life, make the best of it, and do what you can do. And that's what I do every day. I get up and think, okay, what's my purpose in life today? And
That's a beautiful way of, despite everything happening, just because I know, let me rephrase that. I can't know, what that'd be like. I can only imagine even that,
Yeah.
that's not even real feeling, but
yeah,
it's a good way, the way that you still, look at life, like you were saying, like on the
Yeah.
everyday basis of like you wake up every day and I
Yeah.
like that you ask, like, cause I know every day we wake up, we're, I feel different, certain days that when I wake up. So I like that you
yeah.
ask yourself, like, what's my purpose today? That's a
Listen,
good way of like
yeah.
finding out what you're more drawn to that day
Yeah.
too.
Well, I think I was told I would never have a baby, probably not, and I wouldn't believe him. I knew God was going to give me one, and every time I'd lose one, I'd cry. And I kept saying, Dear Lord, I know you're going to give me that special child, and I will take care of him. And he was special, and he then was injured at birth, had mental problems. But I said, I look at his little pictures, and oh, he was adorable with those little
Oh,
dimples. And I
uh-huh.
love dark-haired little guys and the little curls.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that.
Precious. And I think at least I had that role as a mother. And I wasn't, I didn't feel cheated that I did have that one child. And I could say, yes, I was a mother. And, we don't know how things are going to turn out for our children. A lot of my friends have lost children to illnesses, suicide, different things, or drug overdoses. And so, I accept that God gave me that special child, and I thank Him
And I'm
for
glad,
it.
and I'm glad that you was kept that. That's something I always look to my mom too, just because people like you guys is you guys always like, despite what the doctor or anybody tells you, like, oh, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, because like that happened to my mom a lot, where like with animals or certain things, like, oh, don't worry, like it's not gonna happen. But she's like, no, like trust me, like it'll happen. So I'm glad that you
Right.
always kind of kept your that like that fire inside,
Spunk.
yeah, that spark inside of you that
Yeah.
you knew it was gonna happen one day. And I'm glad that
Right.
you got the opportunity for it to actually
Yeah.
happen.
Hi. Yeah. Well, and like I said, I just felt, I don't know, I never weakened. I never would sit and cry and say, why me? I never did that. And I look back and think, geez, God gave me the strength to do what I had to do. And I even went to college full-time 3.5 years, worked 3 part-time jobs,
Man.
raising this kid on my own, no child support.
Yeah, so you're
no
showing
help.
that showing that to the world too.
And I
like,
was 40 when I graduated.
man,
So I tell my students, don't think if you don't want
it's
to
a
go
time.
to
Yeah, don't, it's a
college right now, go get a job a couple years.
experience.
And then
Yeah,
I said, I graduated at 40 years old. I started in college in my late 30s. So I said, you can go anytime and learn.
that's awesome.
And
I love that too, because that's inspirational. Because like
Yeah.
the whole thing is just like, oh, you leave high school and you're like, oh, you immediately like gotta know what you want to do, your career,
No.
what school you're going to. And I think that's unfair for like a
Yeah.
child, because they're
It
if you know what
is.
you're doing, that's great. But a lot of us, like myself, I didn't go to college because
No.
of I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly. Because in high school, I went through different high schools that I got different
Well, you would-
experiences. Yeah,
you would know.
that I never really felt gravitated. I never had in Oklahoma. I had this teacher. She kind of sparked something in me where like like a conspiracy theories type of thing, where like she always kind of like talked a little bit more profoundly on like the big man and like like our rights and like that. But she was one of the only few teachers that actually like gave me like that interest in like, okay, like she's taking it like
Right.
a step farther than like the regular, oh, here is the what's the word, not the agenda, but here is like the curriculum. Here's
Oh,
like
yeah.
like we're gonna learn this, and they just do
Right.
it. But I like whenever they take it personally, they go farther, they put their input too, and she was one of the only ones that had that impact. But the
Well, and
majority of the time,
a lot of times after high school, we're not even mature enough to
No,
decide.
we're still so young. We're still
what-
developing.
to decide what we want to do, or we don't even know. And I tell students, you don't have to know at that time. It's no big deal. I said, if you want to work a little bit and then think, well, no, maybe I'd like to. And I said,
And then find what you really like, and then kind
Yeah.
of, because a lot of times people go without knowing, because a lot of times peer pressure from like their peers or their parents.
Well,
like-
the parents.
Yeah, like my parents, they were kind of pushing me to go, but I feel guilty because I was like, if I go, I don't want you guys to waste this money, because I wanted.
You weren't ready.
Yeah, and because my issue was, it wasn't that I really didn't know what to do, but it was just like I wanted to do so many different things that I don't want to go to college for one thing. Like
Right.
I'm so like, I want to do this, I also want to do this, but I also want to do this. So like
Right.
it's not fair to me to pick one thing out of the other ones
Right.
and get one
and
degree.
you don't need to go to college to be successful.
I agree.
There
That-
are plenty of jobs.
lot of- and,
that Buckeye teaches that they make more money than the college
Yeah,
students.
I agree. Yeah,
Welders, engineers.
Yeah.
That's what they teach down there. So it's a wonderful school.
yeah. It's a trade.
And-
A
and
trade
they
school is
actually-
better nowadays than like
They
the actual
actually
degree.
train down there, and then they get part-time jobs while they're going
Yeah,
to
they
school.
get their certifications within like a
and they're
year.
working while they're going to school, and they come right out of graduation, and they have a full-time job.
So I that is something like, my high school self was kind of blinded and a little naive in a sense of like I was still kind of, society kind of got the best of me. Back then I was, when I moved here I was almost finishing my junior year, so I could have went, but it was an idea for me to go Buckeye because I was already kind of like my senior year starting.
Right.
But I got this view of like, oh, Buckeye's kind of like the weird kids and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I think that Buckeye is better than like Philly and Dover because it's a trade school.
trains.
You learn certain things.
I had that same impression before I subbed there. I thought,
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's
these
funny
kids
how
are-
we get brainwashed
these
into.
kids that just can't make it in the regular school.
Yeah.
But you can't believe how smart
Yeah.
some of these kids
Yeah,
are.
and not only smart, but
teach
they're so versatile. They're like so hands on that
Right.
a lot of times when a lot of like people in high school, they kind of leave, like they're whatever. But people that live in trade school, they get in a head start above everybody because
Well, they
get
like
that
I said,
quick certification.
a lot of them actually get part-time jobs and go to school
Yeah,
in the
and
morning.
that's how they start.
Then they go to their work in the afternoon, and by the time they graduate, they have a full-time job. And so I've certainly got a different opinion of down there, and there's good teachers and, instructors that actually did construction work and all that. I had every class down there, even forklifting, engineering. you
That's
name
so
it.
cool. Yeah, and I don't
Well,
realize
the
like
guys liked me, and I could keep them in line, and some of the other teachers couldn't. And I
They
might
respected you. I think that's what
They
it was,
did.
too. I
and
think that's the biggest
they would
thing.
want me. They would request me. I had teachers request me and students, and it made me feel I was doing a good job.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's
And-
almost like affirmation. Like, you trusted in your heart and you went
Right.
with like what you felt was right. And I think by you doing what's right, truly with true intentions, I think like the outside kind of catches up with that too. Where like
Exactly.
they felt what you were doing.
Well, I think when you, like myself, I was confident, not overly or anything, but I had a full life and done things I wanted to do. And I went in there to teach them to feel good about themselves and to accomplish with something they liked or were good at. And I wasn't there to be the controller and power
Yeah.
over them. It was like
So
I
you
treated
took
them
you
with,
took a different approach.
yeah,
than,
I
like, the
treated
most
them with
common.
respect, and they respected me, and I never had a problem.
And that's how it should be. Where like a lot of times people come into like this government jobs where it's like teacher or it's like a police or whatever it may be, and they feel like, oh, I'm gonna be watching over them. But when they don't realize that the true power is whenever you don't try to watch over them. Whenever you are with them, whenever you're with them, that's whenever
Right.
people they feel that comfort within
Yeah.
them, or like they don't look at you as a teacher. I'm sure they look. I mean, you are, but they don't. I'm sure they look at you more of a friend than
Right,
anything.
right.
More of like an instructor, like a
Yeah.
friendly instructor. Like you're connected with them.
Right.
So by you giving them your energy, they're of course they're
Well,
gonna give it right back to you.
I had one little person, I think it was a girl, and she was drawing something, and I went over to the desk and said, "Oh, what are you doing? Are you finished with your work?" And here she was drawing a picture to her dad that was in jail.
Oh, really?
And so, a lot of them have gone through a lot of, well, some of them would come up and a lot of their grandparents were raising them. And, one kid even brought me extra cookies at Christmas time that his grandmother made. And I said, "For me?" And he said, "Yeah." He says, "These are for you." And I wrote him a card and put some money in it, but I didn't send it to him. He had to watch. So I sent it, gave it to somebody up front a teacher that could give it to him, because I didn't want people to think I
Directly.
was writing this student, you know what I'm saying? You had to be very careful. So I sent it to somebody down there in the office that could give it to him. And, oh, he came and thanked me. But I didn't want to personally write him thinking, is there something going on?
Yeah, because I know because like how like even though you had no wrong intentions, but you know how quickly like
Oh, yeah.
others can be like
Yeah.
like because that's how people are. They're like snakes. They're like look what she's doing. Like she's
Well,
giving
and,
letters to her
and
students.
I understand it because what's going on with some of these teachers and pupils. They have to be cautious. You know, you
Job
could,
like that dealing with kids.
oh,
Yeah, you
that's
do.
why in a way I'm glad I'm out of there. There's too much going on. It's getting worse.
Do you want to wrap it up now?
I think too.
Yeah.
We've had enough.
Last thing, if you had to give any advice, what's the one advice that you love to give right now?
To people in general?
Yeah.
Or, well, I first believe in the Lord and trust in yourself. And my thinking is each day I wake up and sometimes I think, oh, today's not going to be the most exciting day, or I have nothing planned. And a lot of my friends are too sick to call, and I don't get a lot of phone calls. And it's funny how the Lord will bring, like today, having this interview. And I just say, believe in the Lord and believe in yourself, that you are a good person. And some days they don't go like you really would want them to go, but make the best of it and think of the positive thing that you did that day. Even if it's one little thing, that's how I do. I think, well, I got that done today. Nothing much, but it makes me feel good that I accomplished something and that my life was worthwhile and I had a purpose. And if you don't get it accomplished that day, just think, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow. But I always think if you can love and respect people, you get it back tenfold. And it makes you feel like a worthy person. And I always say to God, if you can give me one good deed to do a day, I'll know my life is worth living, and I'm not just taking up air and space to be here on earth. And it's funny how he'll present each day something to me. It could be a minor thing or it could be a major thing. That I just saved a guy's life the other day. And I said, dear Lord, now this is getting to be a bit much, but I'm glad I could be the one there. But if you can just do one good little gesture or make a little child smile or say hello to somebody and smile, you feel so 10 times better about yourself giving that. I mean, I get more back receiving their smile and
Than
giving
anything
that,
else.
that it makes you lovable and life worth living. And
Yeah, it's
I
almost
just
like
always,
give without remembering and receive without forgetting.
yeah. Well, and just doing one little, like I say, saying to a little kid, hi, sweetie, or something. They smile, but I said I get tenfold back just by that little smile.
Yeah, because it's so powerful too. It's just like knowing that you impacted them in a positive
Yeah.
way. Like
Now, I don't take any, I don't want to say the word crap anymore. I'm very, probably too strong for some people. I have my own opinions on things, which years ago I was probably, everybody said sweet, and I have guys looking me up now, and I was such a sweetheart and so pretty. But I said, I can be feisty, but I don't fight and yell and scream. I avoid any kind of anything
yeah,
like
because
that,
it's just like
confrontations.
it's like almost like
Viol-
lower behavior that you don't
Well,
we don't need to behave on that.
Right, and violence begets violence. But if I don't believe in something, I don't go along with it, but I don't get in arguments or fights about
Yeah,
it.
there's no point. But yeah, because like it's almost like by you getting into it, you'll be contradicting yourself. Like you don't believe in it, but how am I getting better by
Well,
falling
you're
for
lowering
it?
yourself
Exactly.
even lower to their
Exactly,
level, and that's how I
exactly.
look at it.
No, and that's exactly what it is. Just because when we behave on that, that's our lower selves.
I don't
like
have that in
animalistic.
me. It's just not even worth it. I
No,
thought,
it's really not.
and screaming and yelling, and I think, I would walk away if anything like that happens. I just walk away
And I
from
think
it.
that's part of like this lifetime. I believe to be part of other lifetimes too. That we just experience so much that we hit a certain point where it's just like it's not worth it to
Right.
get ourselves involved in that when we know better almost.
Well, and I told a lot of my students and young people out, I said, when anybody bullies you, I said, you look them square in the eye and you point and say, you've got the problem, you're the one with the problem, not me, and walk away.
That's standing up for oneself.
And I'm going to tell you, they are the ones with the problem. I told people that bully are the ones that are insecure and
Insecurities,
have the
yep,
problems.
internally.
And I said, so just look them square in the eye and just say it that you truly mean it and say, you're the one with the problem. And just to say nothing more and walk. Well, that's how I believe they are the ones with the problem. So, anyway, so is that a good wrap up?
Oh, that was a perfect way to end it.
Okay.
Thank you for being part of this, and we'll yeah.
Well, I didn't know what you were gonna. That was, neat, and I said maybe.
No, I mean, just because like with this, like I don't, it's not one thing like I'm looking for. It's just
Yeah.
like it's just how it kind of plays out.
Evolve.
Yeah, how it evolves.